We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spring Run Challenge 2025 Athlete Briefing Week 1. A little different face here, although I've been introduced. John graciously put the challenge on me to take over here, and I'm excited to be with you all. So I want to get into a couple things here. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit for the new people, but some other things we're going to cover is to talk about our journey together. Some clerical stuff, all right, a couple little changes here or there that I want to go through, so making sure that we're all on the same page here and set up for success, and some questions that popped up on the Facebook post for week 1 that came up that I want to address. Okay, so a little introduction. Some of you know me by now, but if you don't, my name's Justin Harris. I've been with Team Wilpers since 2021. I have some accolades to myself from my athletic career over the years that I'm proud of looking back in my day. But the things that I'm most proud of is guiding lots of different athletes over a lot of different sports, particularly in endurance, to be successful. And I want to really get into what our journey together is going to be here. And I was thinking about this, why do these challenges and whatnot? And for me, coaching really comes down to, in endurance sports, and really sports in general, comes down to a journey that we're all on, is really exploration of self, right? Who are we? How do we navigate this body in this world and go get some of the times that we want to get and experiences we want to get? And what it's not about, though, is perfection, okay? So I expect you to learn and engage and ask questions. It's not about perfection. So be open-minded, be vulnerable, and let's learn even more than we have throughout the time. And I know a lot of you are here and part of this community because Coach Ferry has done an excellent job of guiding you all, and I look forward to carrying on that torch. One of the key things that Matt talked about when I first kind of interviewed with him was that, and it really attracted me to coaching at Team Wilpers, was that everyone deserves good coaching, right? And that really resonated with me, right? Because I've done stuff at the Olympic level, kind of behind the scenes stuff, coaching, work Olympic test events for bobsled and skeleton. And so I've seen the tippy top. I've gotten athletes to be national champions and different stuff. For me, though, really, it's about delivering good coaching and guiding people when maybe the path's not so clear, right? So for you all, the really key thing is to engage in the process, be vulnerable, but be coachable, right? So think about it being a little bit different is not bad, but a new opportunity to try something in a different way, okay? One of my key principles, and on these next 8 weeks, I'm going to talk about some of the things that are important to me. As they say, is few principles, many methods, all right? There's many ways to get to Rome, but we kind of really need to be on the same page here, right? So my first principle, and really is the key one, is the way to be successful here is to commit to the process, right? All right, it's hard to show up every day and get the training in. Things get in the way, family, work, life is life, and sometimes. But when you really commit to the process, it allows you to be more successful. If you focus on your motivation ebbs and flows, and we know based on brain research that motivation ebbs and flows based on fatigue. So it's an inverse relationship. The more fatigued we are, the less motivation we have to train. So if you can try to get your workouts in the morning and get them done, you've already won the day, all right? But commitment really cuts through the crap, right? All the stuff that happens is getting it done, right? And figuring it out. And commitment leads to some other things. And so focus on that, being successful, making sure you're getting your completion boxes, and making adjustments when you need to. It's not about, commitment isn't always about 100% effort, and pushing over the edge, and I'm so tired and whatever. Sometimes the commitment to yourself is to be ready for tomorrow and take the day. So we'll talk about those principles more and more. But clerical stuff. All right, we have some clerical stuff. So there's some different looks here, but I want to go over some key things, especially for some new people. All right, so you can really level up with this training with difficult settings and to add strength by joining the All Access plan and membership, right? It's only $10 a month. And instead of just getting the set plan, then you can make it, easier if you need to, which the easier option on this plan now includes walk jogging, and we'll work through that. And a more kind of difficult training which is basically a little bit more volume and intensity to what we're doing if you're ready for it. So for $10 a month, you get, the difficulty settings for all access, but you also get specific training written for Team Wilpers by one of our strength coaches, Ava, and a fantastic program. And it's really guided versus doing some other ones and kind of putting the pieces together. It's really integrated in, so it's complementary instead of maybe a little bit different than what we're doing. So if you want to change your difficulty settings, then you need to sign up for the all access. And there's, if you go to the plan on the coaching plans and stuff, you can go through that way, okay? And it's something like 33 cents a day, so it's one of the best bangs for the buck, all right? So one of the things that we'll see here, though, in the structure, I used to be a special education teacher, that's what I went to school for, is I really feel like if you have a clear plan and you know why you're doing what you're doing and how you're supposed to do it, you're going to be able to execute it well and engage with the process. So what you'll see in the structure now is you'll see session goals. All right, again, I was a special ed teacher, so we need to have steps and go along the way. So what is the goal of the session, right? If we know how to do it and know what we're approaching, we can engage in it, all right? So the next thing we have is why it matters. All right, I think Nietzsche said, one who has a why can deal with any how. So if you know why you're doing the workout, the purpose of the session, then hopefully we can execute a bit better and see how it fits into the plan. Next, structure-wise, we have how it should feel. I'm really big on this, is how it should feel, because we can set things by paces, and we do in the plan, but your effort is really the only thing you can control. If it's hot out, your pace is going to be affected. If it's windy out, your pace is going to be affected. If it's hilly, your pace is going to be affected. If your tread calibration's off a little bit, you're going to be affected. If you're stressed out, your pace is going to be affected. If you ate at the wrong time or not soon enough, your pace is going to be affected. So in there, I really try to explain how it should feel. And this is something I really want you all to focus on, all right, is how it should feel. I'm really big on this because, again, many variables affect pace, okay? Then we get into the session breakdown. I tell you about how many minutes it's going to be, trying to stick with the 30, 45, 60, and maybe even 75 and 90 if we get up there. All right, I'm going to kind of see how the plan works out. But so this way you can pick your Peloton classes to mash up with them. And for the new people there, you can pick a class and open up your phone and do the training as you see and adjust your treadmill paces to make sure that it works. All right, and in the session breakdown, we're going to have your warm-up, what we want there. All right, the main set, so what the crux of the session is, and then the cool down. All right. You also see a post session, what you're supposed to do post session. All right, so for like the 20-minute test and what's coming up, you have the opportunity to put in your paces, and I'll get to talking about the 20-minute test. And then coaching tips, kind of like 3 to 4 bullet points of what the big takeaways are to get out of the session if we're going to kind of do a TLDR, okay? All right, and so I want to get into what the actual training is for this week, and then I will jump into some of the questions that we have, okay? So what you can come to expect, all right, this week is, this whole plan is meant to piggyback on the winter training plan, which really focus on speed. And so now that it's getting nicer outside and we have the opportunity, so a little bit more daylight, we'll have the opportunity to go outside and maybe run a little bit longer, or we just have more time in the day to get stuff done and we can be on the tread a little bit longer. So what I would like to do in this plan is to teach you some different ways to integrate long runs to be a little bit more specific to what we're trying to do as endurance athletes. I know many of us are going after 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and there's definitely advantages to having just a set pace the whole way and get some of the intensity during the week. And there's a little bit more advanced ways to go about approaching your long run, but it needs to be guided because we can't just go do the race. So the goals for this week, we're going to run a progressively paced long run to build endurance. And I'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to stick with executing VO2 max and aerobic sections, but this is VO2 max, so some minute on, minute offs. So we call it speed play or fartlek from the Finnish term. I like speed play a little bit better. All right, and we're going to execute a progression run. I'll talk about that a little bit more. All right, we've done them in the past. I might have some different ways to approach it that might add on to what Coach Ferry was doing. And so let's get into it. All right, 20-minute test. All right, our week starts with a 20-minute test. All right, I put in there 4 weeks. I had some questions, but honestly, if you haven't done it in a couple months, I would say it's a good opportunity. In the couple months since you've done the 20-minute test, if you've run some races and you know more accurately where you're at, all right, because outside is the real world. If they're better than the 20-minute test, you'll run those paces, okay? So if I know in there I say about 4 weeks, it's just to encourage people to think about it. All right, test retest is really important to see if you're progressing and be in reality. We've all been there. We take an FTP test and we don't do one for 3 years. We do a 20-minute test and we don't do it for 2 years, okay? So use races to adjust your pace and get in there, all right? But we've all been there where we just like, this is my pace and this is what I do because I don't want to suffer again. Be open to it and just see it as more as like, this is where I'm at today, right now, and you have more dialed in paces. If you've already done a test in the past month or so, then you're going to have speed play, all right? And essentially these are minute on, minute offs. And the big thing with this is that the minute ons, there's a pace to it, but really I want you to focus on how it should feel. And it should feel strong and smooth. Speed play and VO2 max, all right, we want to be careful of sprinting all out from the get-gun and just going slower and slower. We want to be a little progressive through this, all right, but focus on being strong but in control. If we look at the Olympics and watch fast runners run, they barely look like they're running from here up because they're in control. Now, different what's going on up here. Their brains are screaming that this hurts, ouch, go get this person, blah, 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 right? So, but focus on strong and smooth, because if you can do it when the lights aren't on yet in a race, then when the lights are on in a race, you'll be able to run strong and smooth, and that's how you run your fastest, all right? For Tuesday, we have the strength program, and again, you need to be an all-access member, and I'll keep talking about that, 33 cents a day. I can't beat it, all right? Our progression run, all right, is about being smooth and in control. And one of the analogies I give is you're trying to like turn on a dimmer switch of light. And it's not just slam it up, like flip the light on. We want to slowly slide the dimmer switch all the way to the very end for the progression run, okay? You don't want to end having to really dig down into pace. Consider this like a 3/4 workout, not 100%, 4 out of 4 workout where you're emptying the tank. We want to get a good amount of effort in. We want to be tactical with this, because to run a proper endurance race, we really want to be able to be progressive or negative split, meaning that your splits get faster and faster if it's a flat course. Hilly, your effort might be progressive and negative splitting, but your splits might be affected by the hill at the end or whatever, okay? So think about progressing the effort, all right? Dimmer switch, sliding the effort up to give your best performance, all right? I have it, depending on the difficulty, in 3-minute or 6-minute, but don't see it as like at 3 minutes, I bump the pace up and then I flatline it for 3 minutes or 6 minutes. Think about inside that 3 minutes, we can bring it up. But as I tell my one-on-one clients in private coaching, this idea of we want to move to a place that feels a little uncomfortable, but manageable. And then when it feels manageable and then comfortable, we can kind of progress a little bit more, all right? But you have the paces to put you in the right direction, but kind of explore that dimmer switch of effort on the progression run. All right, Thursday we have strength for those doing the strength plan on all access, but we also, for people doing 5 days a week, we have an aerobic run plus striders. Aerobic run here, I give you your pace, easy pace, all right? Easy pace, that pace ends up being what you should be doing on the faster end. So I recommend that you start slower and you work your way into it. Don't force the pace if you start slower, and that's where you're at today. The aerobic days are really where we're absorbing the hard days, all right? The key workout days, Monday and Wednesday and Saturday. So see those Saturday days as the opportunity to absorb all the training you're doing. If on those days you're really pushing it, the effort to just run faster and focus on a time, you're not going to end up being a better runner in the long term. It gets a little bit risky. You start pushing it. And I give the analogy of a sponge, all right? If a wet sponge, if you keep squeezing it, it's going to dry out, and you keep squeezing it and you keep putting effort, it's going to end up ripping, all right? We get sick, we get hurt, we lose motivation. We don't want to get after it, all right? So see aerobic days as opportunity to absorb all the training. And I give a little bit of advice to pull in heart rate a little bit. A lot of us have smartwatches. If you toggle to the data field, that's the heart rate. Usually there's a line, a bar of colors, or a semicircle of colors. And if you stay in the green or under, you're in a good place. If you start getting into orange, yellow, certainly the red, your heart rate's a little too high. Now, you're gonna run slower at times, all right? And don't be so attached to your pace. This is the opportunity to absorb it. This is how I've been able to produce results with my one-on-one clients, is to be able to get them to day in and day out, year over year, keep improving and dropping time, is really buying into that opportunity to not get everything, squeeze every last drop out of your aerobic runs, all right? And on Thursday, we're gonna finish off with some striders, inject a little speed in there, work on good technique, be up nice and tall, all right? Relax face, nose to belly button, try not to cross the center line with your arms, all right? All right, be out on your sides and try to be relaxed and move quickly. All right, Friday is our typical off day, and we're gonna keep with that. And Saturday is our long flat run, okay? This is the big focus, is doing different long runs. And so for this session, we're gonna start with kind of the brakes on. So the analogy I give is if you're driving a car, the first 50% of this run, the duration, you're gonna have your brakes on. But if there was a passenger in there, they wouldn't know the brakes are on. The people behind you would know the brakes are on because the brake lights are on. So it's not like we're really on the brakes heavy, maybe like at the beginning of a progression run. Here, brakes are on light, we're in control, we're holding back, we're being patient. Tactically, this helps set you up for races in the future where you don't get out overzealous because the crowd is rolling or you felt good and you were trying to bank time. You're being patient and you're sticking to the plan. The next 25%, we are not on the brake and we're not on the gas. We're just flowing, all right? I have pace suggestions in there for you, but again, how it should feel and how this works is the next 25%, you should feel like you're flowing, all right? And then the last 25% of the time, you're putting your foot on the gas pedal a little bit, all right? A progression run, we're trying to put our foot on the gas pedal. If a car, idles at 1,000 RPMs, all right, a progression run, we're getting up, if it redlines at 9 or 8,000 RPMs, depending on what vehicle you have, it's gonna end up being on a progression run, we're getting to like 5,000, 6,000 RPMs. It's gonna feel acute, it's gonna feel challenging. We can push, but as soon as we get done with a progression run on Wednesday, within 15 minutes, we're nice and recovered. So on a long run, we don't wanna get that close because the duration of the long run is gonna build over time, all right? And we don't wanna bite off more than we can chew. So that last 25%, I say just like 2,000, 3,000 RPMs, just a little bit to get the car moving forward, just a little bit of gas to smooth it out on your effort. This is when technique-wise, you'll end up feeling like, oh, I feel really good, I feel in control, I feel like I'm doing something. Doesn't mean the whole first part of the run is wasted. Again, this is a tactical approach and learning how to be patient over time so that you're finishing strong and passing people at the end, okay? On Sunday is our aerobic run. And for me, this is a little bit more of a restoration run, or some people call them recovery runs, all right? Be on the slower side of your easy pace. Start really slow. Absorb that entire long run, and so that we're ready for Monday's session, okay? If for some reason your week gets away from you, we don't necessarily want to replace, go from long run, and then we missed our progression run into a Sunday progression run, and then it stacks into, faster stuff on Monday. So really take this day to absorb your training, to be mindful of your effort, to be patient. And this is where we start making some big gains. It takes a little while for it to come into effect, but oftentimes we have to slow down in order to get faster. All right, so that is a breakdown of the week. And again, I'm gonna keep coming back to this, like how it should feel, how it should flow. And it sounds like a little esoteric. It sounds a little like, what the heck is this guy talking about? I know Coach Ferry's talked about it. I know all our coaches that we work on with our one-on-one clients, we're always constantly saying is take the easy days easy, all right? And what that ends up doing, it allows you, most people run, if there's a speed continuum of 100%, most people run their runs 65 to like 85%. Every day is often the same when they don't have coaching. But everyone wants to run faster, really push that. That's the fun stuff, right? That's what we're in it for, and that's where we really feel like we're doing. But ironically enough, if we go a little bit slower, in this pocket down here, we're building a lot of the building blocks to be successful at a cellular level. All right, so zone 2 training and aerobic training is really about mitochondria development, so like the density, so both the size of them and, the size and the number of them. And mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, but just think them as pumps. What they're doing is pumping and processing things. If we only have a few pumps and the the basement's starting to overflow, it's going to be a real tough time on one pump. It gets risky, but if we can develop more pumps, and that's what we get at that lower end, we get a ton of that, plus capillary bed development. So we get lines to pull out all the lactate and stuff that we're building up on the harder sessions. So essentially we build a better base, which we build up that base in this zone right here. We build it up, and then we're able to put a higher roof on the ceiling. Okay, so questions that came up, and so one of the questions that came up on the post, so I'm going to post on Facebook, I'm going to label it each week, I'll pin it at the top, you can put your questions there, and I'll look at it right before our phone call so I can answer and address them. But one of our questions was, which I covered, is 20-minute test, you say 4 weeks, how stubborn or how firm are you on that? And I would say if you have any recent race results inside of that, use those if they're better. If they're not, stick with your old paces, all right? Our training paces aren't always as dynamic as we think we are, and on our smartwatches, every day, it's like my VO2 max is going up or down, and it's just not that fluid. So take your paces from there. I would say if you haven't tested in 3 months, you're coming back to us, or you're a newbie, you absolutely need to retest to see where it is. Yes, that 20-minute test is difficult, but again, to run it properly, you should be kind of fading at the end a little bit. Then that means you gave it up. If you're really ramping up the last minute or two and a 30 seconds, 45 seconds mile faster, then you left a little bit out there and your paces aren't going to be accurate. It's challenging, we know, all right, but it's able to give us our best paces. So if you had a recent race result, utilize those speeds, okay? Someone asked about incorporating the challenge. I think this is like one of our, I don't know, I've seen this question a lot, especially when I've come on to do guest appearances with Coach Ferry. It's like, how do you integrate this into a triathlon plan? Or how do you integrate this in a marathon plan? And I would say is, again, few principles, many methods. So if you take the principle of how it works, all right, why this matters, and the session goal, and you can bump times out, right? If it's 3-minute blocks or 5-minute blocks, you can bump out those if you need to get more distance or volume in if you're running a marathon. But go with the theme, all right? Look at how it should feel and stick with that mentality, that effort, all right? And you can add a little bit of time and pieces here. It depends on what plan you're on and whatnot, but you have to be careful of stuffing days in. So there should only be 3 quality days a week of running or cycling or really training. All right, triathlon, I'm a triathlon coach as well. This gets a little bit challenging, but there's 3 key days. And for what we've done in this structure and what I do with my one-on-one clients is I like Mondays to be VO2 max. All right, we're trying to increase horsepower. VO2 max, anytime you see VO2 max, we're trying to increase horsepower in the vehicle. It's giddy up time, all right? Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on what program you're on, but here Wednesdays will be threshold. There we're trying to make the vehicle more fuel efficient, all right? Our threshold, our lactate production, all right, and processing it with the mitochondria and deeper capillary bed. So we're trying to make the gas mileage, the vehicle go further on the gas mileage. And then your long run. Those are 3 quality days. So if you start putting in 4 quality days, so I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and put pieces, you're starting to burn the wick at both ends, and I would be mindful to avoid that at all costs, okay? And those were the key questions. So if I'll stay on for another minute, if anyone has questions that they had or asked before, if you can just pop them on, I can look to see what's going on. But at the end of the day, we're excited to start this challenge with you. It's going to be 8 weeks. All right. The main focus is different types of long runs. We're going to go through kind of 3 different types of long runs, and we're going to recycle them to see what's going on. I might add a 4th one. We'll see how we go. So make sure you check off your completion boxes, and we will make sure that we answer all your questions. So I'm just scrolling through. Ollie, how's it going? Dana, Christy. All right, Truth Bombs. No, Oliver, do not dim your lights until you pass out. Okay. So, key things. All right, we're on this journey together. Commitment is what cuts through the crap. Focus on getting your 3 key sessions in a week. The aerobic sessions, be mindful not to squeeze the sponge dry on those days and try to get more out of it. Honestly, the less you do, the better. And I would rather you run a little bit longer than to go faster. All right, clerical stuff, a little bit different structure here. All right, for newbies, highly recommend 33 cents a day, all access, $10 a month. All right, you get the ability to alter your difficulty, and we have walk jog available for the easy option. We have a moderate option, and the difficult option is a little bit more volume. Moderate option will be running. And then you get tailored strength program to it, which is really good. Excellent. So those are the big things. And then on Facebook every week, I will put questions. So the rest of this week, if you have questions on that week 1 questions, it's not just for the phone call, for the live video. Ask the questions there. I'll jump in. I'll answer them. And let's engage with each other. Let's support each other. You guys have created a great community with Coach Ferry. Let's keep that going. Let's be supportive. Being an endurance athlete is tough. And as the great philosopher Ice Cube once said, life ain't a track meet, it's a marathon. And it really is. So all you, enjoy your weekend and get in that Facebook chat group. Let's be communicating. What are we struggling with? What concerns are popping up? Be vulnerable. Let's support each other, and let's progress through this next 8 weeks and build on what you've done all winter. All right. Excited to be with you. We'll bring in Coach Ferry for some guest appearances. We missed that guy already. And thanks for being with me. And we'll see you next week. And the one thing I did was how not to end it.